7:38. This is the Conservation, you started? Conservation Commission of Woodbridge, May 28th, 2014, and we have a quorum. It's a special meeting, and the agenda was posted. There doesn't seem to be any public comment, which is our first item on the agenda. Our second item is approval of the April 11th, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments on those? Have people read them? Do you want to take a minute to look at them? Have you guys read them?
I have.
Does anyone want to vote to have them approved?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 11th meeting.
I second.
All in favor? Val? Great. Unanimous. Okay. Events and happenings around town. There's I'm not sure if there was a monthly trail cleanup when our meeting was originally scheduled, but that has now already occurred, so that is not happening.
But they
until
happen
next month.
They happen regularly.
Yep, on Sunday mornings at 11.
If anybody's interested in learning more about the monthly trail meetup and touch-up date, touching up the trail, not the people who are attending with you, you can email the trail master at woodbridgect.org, or you can contact Tim Austin for more information.
All right, old business. Earth Day event. Does anyone want to comment about that, which is now a while ago? It was in April. I think most of us were there one way or another. I thought it was a great event.
I thought it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Some lessons learned. Definitely want to have our trees there the day of. That would be helpful. They were late due to UPS. They got delayed. It's all things happening
But we
down
delivered
south.
them. We distributed them next week.
That's
and
right,
that
and
worked
everybody
quite
else
well.
picked them up at opening day for Little
Mhm.
League or at Sharon's pickup. So that was fun. I think next year if we do it, then there's some logistical things we can have. But
Do
it
you
was
want to
great
write them? Tell us what you think, just so we write them down so we remember. So one was maybe larger saplings.
Yeah, they. I'm sure they're fine and they're great, but we'll see if we can get some
Do you want to write this down?
ones. Maybe that's just the nature
Larger
of
saplings.
the trees that we got from the Arbor Day Society, but also like having them sorted and bagged and ready to go
Mhm.
ahead of time instead of trying to sort them as people came up. That would probably be easier.
Was there info with them to
Yep, we had
plant
instructions and we gave them mulch.
Mm-hmm.
So they had all that they needed to plant them.
Yeah, and pre-bagging the mulch would be good too next time, because I thought that was good.
I thought the quiz was a big hit. So that was,
Yeah,
it was
thank you,
really,
Val.
it was very engaging. So everybody that came up, and people did surprisingly well, it's
Uh-huh.
like pretty, very intelligent people here in Woodbridge, so.
So we need some new questions for next year.
Yeah,
Some
because
harder
somebody's probably
questions?
saved one. Yeah, we
Yeah.
might have to get
They were,
harder
the
because.
Girl Scouts did the best, I think, right?
I
The
think
Girl
so,
Scouts
yeah.
did the best on the
they-
test, yeah.
Yeah.
They did great.
They did great.
Okay, yeah, I thought
so
that was
we'll
engaging.
have to see if our committee historian can give us some more facts to buff up that quiz. I would say, as a conservation commission, we should try to print it on one single piece of paper.
Yeah.
Preserve some of that.
Trees.
Double-sided.
Okay, anything else about?
But it was great.
I
It was
think the-
good. People were interested.
Yeah, people came.
Nice.
Next is the Connecticut DEEP Trails Grant, and I talked to Tony Genovese's office, and they have not heard anything yet.
Okay.
Updates Coupop on the April 22nd meeting. Wow, we haven't talked about. Oh, that didn't happen.
The April 22nd meeting was the special meeting that did happen that I thought, didn't Barbara
Oh,
attend
the
that?
May didn't, and I did too. I thought it was in the May meeting. I was confused.
Oh,
Yes.
I
No, it
think I
was-
attended that one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, it was, there were a few things that went on in there. at that meeting. One was that Jason Morrell spoke to the idea of developing as farmland a strip along Racebrook Road that is presently unutilized town-owned property. And that idea, I think, is going to go to the Board of Selectmen and slowly mature. It's going to be a big project, but he seemed enthusiastic, and he might not be the one to develop it, but he might be the one to get it involved so that someone could develop it. The other thing was the request from the Board of Selectmen or from the first selectman to investigate whether there was any possibility of developing the Fitzgerald property as a solar farm. There was lots of people who spoke against that, and the CUPOP decided to review it and get a larger perspective on how to utilize solar versus targeting one specific place. And thanks to you, Diana, that lots of people understood a little bit more of the complexity, and it's not just an easy thing. There'd be a fence and there'd be wires, and it would drastically change the Fitzgerald property, and we registered our concern about that. Then there was Enoch Drive, which was going to be approved, and after a bunch of consideration and a lot of comment, people are rethinking it to get more information about how effective a deed restriction actually is. And I think that will be on the CUPOP meeting in June, and that one of us or two of us, or a few of us should attend, as well as maybe other people that know more about restricted deeds and how effective they can be.
Yeah, okay, so recommendations to the committee members and the commission members, and then also to the public, just to weigh in at the CUPOP meeting on June 24th.
June
Is that
24th at 6. Yeah.
At Town Hall,
We're
okay.
going to be right here in this room.
Okay. And I think with, I think that's in line with the original recommendation that we made as a committee
Yeah.
about that property, okay.
And to continue, the native pollinator plant project, I haven't spoken this week to Paul Harrigan, but I think there was a site visit with someone from the, what is it, from the Connecticut?
From the TEEP?
No, it's the Connecticut Regional,
Water?
it's Chris Sullivan, it's the other Chris Sullivan.
Oh, Conservation District,
Conservation
the
District.
South Central.
And I think it's still in progress, and I don't know if it's gone back to the Land Trust to present it to the Board of Selectmen yet or not.
Okay.
Barbara was going to talk about Westward Road. Does anyone know anything about that?
No.
Sorry, just going back to the pollinator thing real quick. So do we want to ask Paul to come update us quickly on the June meeting?
That'd be great if we
Okay.
have time. I know the June meeting might be quite busy, but.
Okay.
What I know about Barbara about that is I've spoken to her. She was going to try to get in touch with someone through Rachel, of someone who worked at UI, and that wasn't working out so well. So she was going to talk to who's the head of Public Works.
Our Public Works?
Yeah,
Oh, she was
Warren.
Warren.
Yeah, so she's going to talk to Warren about it, and I don't know where that left off.
Okay, so we'll add that to the June agenda.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay, now, Ben has kindly created
your
a list of
topics.
questions. They're very important.
Yes, so how do you want me to, do you want me to like, do we all have internet access? We could all look at the Google Doc, or?
I have
I
it
printed mine.
Oh, you printed it, okay, all right, well, that works. So I
Valerie,
was,
do you want to come look at it with me?
Okay.
so
I
there
made
was
big letters if you want.
Valerie, do you want-
Anyone else trade yours?
But I have the Google Doc thing in the way of the last
What is
few.
wrong?
I know.
I can pull it up on my computer too.
Okay.
And that way Val has one as well.
Okay, Val, we're ready
Val,
for
do
you
you
over
need
here.
it in big print? It printed out.
Oh, well, actually, we can give this to Val.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You don't have to move.
My leg is. appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
I can look at the last
so everybody's got it?
computer. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so there was a request that we put together some questions that the people interviewing the vendors for the country club RFP can be asked. And so I just kind of drafted 10 questions, and then I think we could maybe just come up with a strategy for what we want to actually give to the selectman's office. So, we could, come up with our top 3, or we could order them all and say, here's all 10, but the top few are the most important, or we can, so these are kind of just something that we can work with. Yeah, I'm open to suggestion.
Well, I think they're
for
all
what we
pretty
wanna
good.
do.
They are. I think we can maybe consolidate a couple of them, but if, to your point, to make sure that, should we decide on like the top 5, and that way we can ensure that our questions are being asked versus giving them a list of 10 and then maybe they don't really.
Yeah,
they
I
just
doubt they're gonna
willy-nilly
get to
pick.
all 10.
Right.
So, or we could even just bold, 3 of them or something and say, here's what we really,
Look at the bottom 3.
Like, I think number 10 is super important, because if they are not planning to collaborate with local conservation organizations and government agencies, that could be a problem.
Mhm.
That's like a 1 or a 0, in my opinion, because if that's what's confusing about these RFPs, right? Is that you hired the firm and you're not really sure whose input is going to be really.
Right, so some of them look like they could be grouped together, like 2 and 4. Can you provide examples of past master plans that environmental considerations were prioritized? Can you provide references? And also, can you describe innovative approaches to technologies you've used in previous things? So those are like history. What have you done in the past?
Mhm.
Is there any others that involve that? And how, because some of them are, and then also it looks like 8 and, what, can you go down to?
I mean,
one is
6.
kind of along those lines too.
This idea of like potential challenges related to water conservation, wildlife habitat preservation, protection of natural resources on the property.
So you're
like,
saying,
Again, if they're not, I think they've narrowed it down to 2. And both
Right.
of those that are being considered, one in particular, I think has a reputation of really considering these things, the whole space, the landscape, and the natural resources. But if they're not going to, if in their process, they're not going to engage, this organization or this commission, and the public doesn't have a way to engage them, I think we kind of need to know that right off the
Yeah.
bat, because
it puts them on
What-
task
what is the-
to communicate that it's important to them, us too. But when I see this, Ben, I don't know, because you wrote them, 1, 2, and 4 could be your history of how you've done it in the past, and do you have anything you can show us that proves that you've really, stepped up to the plate in the past? And then the last 2, only which I can't read because of my copy, it might be, how do you plan to integrate the commissions and public, and also how do you plan to be transparent in decision making? That seems like, how are you
Yeah,
going to
9
work
and
with
10.
us? And what's 9? How do you plan to engage?
so basically, how
environmental-
are they planning to engage environmental experts and
Yeah, so-
stakeholders?
Yeah, so what's the
And collaborate.
Involvement, and those 3 are involvement, I think, and the other 2.
Or engagement.
Or 8, 9, and 10.
Engagement.
8, 9, and 10, because it's like, number 1, how do we ensure public participation and transparency? But then you're also how are you engaging that public and those stakeholders, and how are you going to collaborate with them? So it's like, I don't know if there's a way of
Also
like,
curious how they identify
transpa-
stakeholders.
right.
Identify and define. them, I
And
guess.
3 and 6 might be challenges, you know, anticipating challenges.
See,
when you-
I'm thinking like, 3 and 6 together.
Or somehow integrating that, like, under the rubric of, you know, environmental impact, regulatory requirements that you
So
have to.
I think like the 4, 3 through 6, or even like 3 through, well, I guess some of it is like the technical plan, right, that we're asking about?
Yeah, so that's
Is that right,
actually
Ben?
and another part would be technical, right, or sort of logistics.
Yeah, so there's technical, there's
Do we need to read these for the public?
community engagement, and then.
Maybe once we get,
Yeah, maybe once
sentence.
they're finalized.
Well,
Yeah.
I think all of them are good. I think what we did with some of the other RFPs that had been out is we just put them into themes. So like, these 3 questions are on like community engagement. We would like a response on these. These 3 questions
Yeah,
are on like
that-
the
that makes
technical
at least
plan.
the response
Mhm.
more succinct, so that it's not so overwhelming, but it's
Mhm.
valid that we have these 4 categories.
We'd like them
Mhm.
to address these, yeah.
Does that
And
follow
then-
for you,
Yeah,
Val,
I
too?
think that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so like the environmental
like-
assessment and considerations, and then like the technical approach to integrate conservation.
Like green,
And then
that
the
would like be
community
5,
engagement.
incorporate green infrastructure, sustainable design.
So like 4 and 5.
Yep, would be the technical
4,
part.
5, and 6.
How do you bring expertise or get enough expertise to do a good job?
So 4,
4,
5,
5,
and
or
6.
4, 5, 6, and 7 are even under that technical.
Actually, I can't move these because you guys don't have that. Okay, hold on.
You can move. We can-
Well, if I move them, then the numbers change. So then.
Oh, I see.
So let me just label them. So 4, 5, and 6 is like the technical. I can clean this up later.
I was thinking of, yeah. I think it's more in 4 and 5. I think 6 and 7 are more monitoring and keeping an eye on it. Like, how do you, well, no, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I would keep 6. I would say 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all on the technical side. And then 8 through
10?
10 are on community
Like community
engagement.
engagement, yeah.
And then
1 and 2.
You would think that
1, 2, and
one would
3, I
be-
would say like our environmental assessment and
And past
Evaluation.
Well-
performance. I think 1 and 2 are past performance, and 3 is how do you want to implement that past performance into the project that we have. Because the
For
first
a
2 are like, show
process.
us what you've done.
I think
So
one
put
is
it
a
into
st-
a
one
one
is
word.
a process. You know, like that they should be, no matter who they're talking to, answering that question. One is a process question. What is your process? Because there are a lot of stakeholders, and they know that there's a lot of people. You know, we haven't been able to figure this out on our own as a town.
yeah, so maybe 1 goes down with like 8,
I think
9,
1
and
and
10.
2 are
Oh, right. I think you're right.
Yeah, kind of, you know, but also, yeah, I think that,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
the process
one goes down
of
with 8,
how
9,
they're
and
going
10.
to talk to the stakeholders
How you
and how are they
engage.
gonna be engaging, how are they gonna be transparent in
Can
their
you provide
process.
examples of past master plans? How do you plan to assess the environmental impact? Can you outline your experience? So 2 and 3 are, tell us what you've done before
Mhm.
and why you're qualified to do something that has environmental sensitivity at the present moment. Maybe a line describing the group, you know, and then have the question like, we're interested in how
Mhm.
what you've done before to assure us that you.
Integrate the environment into the decision planning.
So,
planning process.
just a sidebar question though on this. So, in reading that article that we had about the golf course, that somebody else
Wild
was,
and
Grow
yep,
wild.
you know, and I did more research about that. So, golf courses by nature are super polluted, right?
By nature, but on bunch.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no.
Sorry.
By anti-nature. So when, and I know that they've already talked in the last Board of Selectmen meeting about essentially tearing down the country club building and the remediation stuff that needs to happen because there
Well,
were.
that's just because of the building, not because of the golf, it was a golf course, though, right?
Right, but in the articles that I read about golf courses that had the same problem that we're facing now, and they were trying to figure out what to do next. Do you develop it? Do you use it? Do you farm it? Do you whatever? Rewild it. There was an issue of remediation that needed to be addressed because of the nature of a golf course being a polluted thing because of all the pesticides that had been used for so long.
Fertilizers and everything.
They literally, if they're, for some cases, and I don't know if there's a time frame
I think that would
of
fall into
however
like
many
the
years,
environmental assessment.
but they would have to like literally remove earth and haul it out of here,
Depending on how
depending on how
contaminated
their,
it is, yeah.
what their use is going to be.
Mhm.
Like, we couldn't just turn around and farm that. Now, how many years does it take for land to?
It's already been.
Now, if it's
Sounds like a
PFAS
new research project for Joy.
Well, PFAS chemicals, so I have been researching it, and I'm happy to continue to research it, but I think that that's something that I've always been wondering, like, I've heard several people in the meeting talk about, turning it back into the farm that it once was, you know?
I don't-
I don't think anyone's thinking.
They
it's
were
a
saying the
problem.
Sherman Farm or whatever, and I have heard some
Preserving it because it was,
But
a
not turning it back
historical
into a farm.
significance or
yeah.
whatever, but the point is that I think we do need to get an answer of like, is that water compromised in that pond? Is that, are any of the soils?
I think that's valid, but I think any of us who are putting a lot of chemicals on our yard, I'm not one of those, could also be doing that kind of damage also.
I mean, not to the
Not
level
to
of
the
a
level.
golf course.
But it has been how many years since it was used as a golf course? Like 6, 7?
It's been a long
as a
time.
golf course?
2016, I think, was the last year
Yeah,
they
so-
they golfed on it, or they used it as that. But I don't know. I don't know that answer
Well, we also
because
don't know
forever
what their-
chemicals are forever chemicals.
Well, we also
so
don't know
we
what their process was to maintain that golf course.
Right, and that might be worth investigating. I think we can.
So that would be part of the environmental assessment.
Like, I'm
Right.
wondering if they are doing that, like, I would hope that somebody is doing that diligence of, is that pond polluted? Is the soil,
Well, maybe that's something that we can talk to when we get the Audubon people here.
Now, the golf course itself, though, that only sits on a small portion of that area, is that right? Of that parcel?
Certainly not all of it.
Certainly, okay, yeah.
There's waterways that weren't near it.
So I guess do you want to add that to the questioning about the environmental assessment and impact?
I mean, yeah, I think it's an important thing to be answered, because I think that really limits what can even be done if you don't know what is happening to the water table, to the soil. I think soil tests and water tests, to me, are kind of like
Well,
the
I
top
would think
things
they'd
you would
do
get
that.
done before you would.
Oh, I think they
you know.
have to do those.
Yeah,
Should we?
but when they were trying to sell it, let's say, to a developer, then it would be on them to have to go and do that, right? So I don't think that the town of Woodbridge, has ever taken it upon ourselves to do that testing.
Well, even more, if anyone were to buy it, one of the concerns that some people had, that they would buy it and then they'd say, we've actually found lots of toxicity, we want to cut down the price substantially because we now realize that for housing, a lot needs to be mitigated. So it's something to consider.
Remediated, yeah.
So it could throw a wrench in any development plans also. Ben, are you ready for me just to read these questions, or you want to read them when you've grouped them?
So I just made, so I think it's a good idea that we just group these, and I just put little headings there.
Okay.
So we've got past performance. I think there's a better word for that, but I can't think of it now.
I do too.
Technical approach, and then community engagement. And then I just wrote little blurbs.
Tracker.
So like past performance, we'd like to know what potential vendors have done to integrate conservation considerations into their processes previously. Technical approach, we'd like to know how they will approach technical issues related to conservation considerations. community engagement. We'd like to know how the vendors plan to engage the community across a range of topics, and then we just fit
Put the
our-
questions within those so that
Mhm.
they're more specific, so people need
Yep.
to answer them. Yeah, I think the specificity is important with the specific
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, I haven't moved the questions yet because we want to keep the numbers.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it sounds like what I have is past performance is 2, 3, 2 and 3. Technical approach is 4, 5, 6, and 7. And community engagement is
1, 8, 9, 10?
1, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Does that sound right to everybody?
Yeah.
It does, that sounds great.
I do think on the technical approach is where we should ask something relative to.
Mitigation.
Well, yeah, like, testing and evaluating the feasibility of utilizing that property for anything.
Okay, so which one would that go under? Under
Technical.
technical? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
So
I
should we
have
add
there.
that one? Or can we loop that onto another question?
Yeah. Do you want to add that to another question, or you want to add that as like a new question?
Oh, add that to another question?
Probably add it as a new question for technical.
Master plans to mitigate environmental impacts, and you could say also take into consideration past environmental impacts.
How do you plan to assess the environmental impact and navigate the regulatory requirements of proposed uses for the former Country Club of Woodbridge, including but not limited to?
Is that what he said? Is that
No,
you're
I'm
deciding?
saying add this piece in there,
Yeah.
included but not limiting to, like soil, water testing
Mm-hmm.
for
Around the buildings and, the
Buildings and-
golf
they've
courses
already
that
do-
sustained
I think the
years
building already-
of pesticides and,
They know that.
well, they know it, but nobody's done it, and I'm just curious as to when or
No, I
how,
think that's good.
what
I
their
don't think we
process
have to
is.
explain that they're pesticides.
Yeah, we just want the soil and water tested for, okay.
Environmental.
When was the building erected, or all those buildings? Was it the 60s?
It looks like the 60s.
I'm just wondering, like, even like lead, because we know even in our old
Well, they've
homes,
already
we have all
done
that.
assessments of that building, of the country club, because they've already put a price tag of like $1 million to take it down, or 100. I don't know what the price is, but they've already done that part of the building, I think. Has anybody heard that also, anybody? I remember hearing that. All right, welcome Barbara. Just got off work.
Hello.
Tree of plants, I don't know what to say here. Existing structures.
So we're working on
And-
the questions that Ben
That Ben-
worked out, and we're grouping them into topic areas, one of which is past performance of how the people who are doing the
Maybe-
RFP may have, you want to describe it, Ben?
Develop lands or something?
And then the other is
Develop
technical
parcels.
questions, and the other is community
Or-
development.
Or
Well,
degraded.
Community integration and concerns and
Something.
incorporation of those.
Okay.
Just trying to bring you up to speed.
Settle in first.
Settle in.
Yeah. I'll show you on my laptop just so you can better.
She has a copy of the questions.
We're reworking those questions that Ben put together, and there's 3 categories that the
Check
questions
with
fit
it.
in nicely to, and yeah. So.
So Ben, there's a meeting, I understand from the first selectman, that's happening, 2 meetings, where they're interviewing the last 2 RFP proposers, and there's gonna be a committee of 3 people, and 3 people of the Board of Selectmen, and it seems like, I think it was Diana's idea to send this to all the Board of Selectmen to, so they could review them, and I think it's a good idea, so they all have environmental considerations as they go forward.
Yeah, so the
I mean, I
process,
think
the
even-
process would be Kathy, oh, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go on.
I said the process would be, we want to finalize these questions and send them back to Kathy, and she can send it out to the Board of Selectmen.
I don't know, can I send it to them?
That's who we're sending these questions to, yeah.
How do,
And
how
I
do we
think
know
even-
that they are going to ask those questions?
Well,
We
they've
don't.
requested them.
Is the meeting executive session, or is it
No,
it's
an
just-
open
No, it's not an
meeting?
open meeting, it's Mika and two other of the Board of Selectmen that have been chosen, as I understand it.
It's like the, the
Just to
review
review it,
committee.
otherwise it
Okay.
would be
Right.
12 people.
It's gotta be the people who are,
Yeah.
have reviewed it,
Yeah.
been a part of
Um,
it.
But I think these questions raise people's awareness as to things they may not have even considered as important things would be good. So I don't know if, eventually we'd like to have Choni Genevieve, anyone who's a stakeholder to have these in their awareness. So maybe we should ask the Board of Selectmen if we can post them on the website or something.
The questions?
Yeah.
Well, we can if we're posting them as part of our documents that we're creating and adding to our minutes. We can add them as an
Yeah.
attachment.
So we should put these all in the minutes, I think, too. Okay. Anything else about that? Is that?
When is the meeting?
I think we're good, yeah, so I'll just clean this up, and then, do you guys need to like look at it for final approval or something, or
Yes.
do we?
No, no, no,
Yeah,
I
how do
think
you
we,
want to
no,
do it?
I think
They're
we
all
all,
the same
we all have it
questions.
right now.
Yeah,
Is it
I'm just
right-
rearranging the questions, so
There's
I'm not
no-
changing.
You're not
the word.
changing the questions?
No, I'm
Yeah,
not
then we
changing
don't
it.
need to.
No,
So
see
we're
I
good,
added
right?
that one sentence about including,
Okay. Do we need the public to know what these questions are? Should we read
let's
them to
just
them?
read them aloud, Sharon. Sorry, you don't have the updated
How about
one.
Ben?
Okay.
Do you
I
want to
will-
go through the categories again, Ben, just so Barbara knows exactly?
Yeah, he's reorganizing that.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Do we
Really?
want to go back to Barbara's thing about the,
Westward.
yes, Westward Road, scenic road designation?
Oh.
Is there any
Oh, we
update?
passed that, okay. The situation is thus at the moment. Well, first of all, Mika asked Warren to call UI and say, hold off. Don't do it. We're working on figuring something out about it. So apparently it's on hold at the moment.
Nice.
Then I called UI to try to find out exactly what was being done to what trees so that we could go to the individuals with that knowledge. And UI never got back to me, even though they kept saying they were going to. And so I went again to Mika and I asked them to get Warren to call them and ask them to give that information, because Warren told me they do not give that information to him generally as to exactly which trees they're pruning,
Right.
which they're cutting, which
That's
this.
so crazy
They
because
give
the
you
UI guy who
addresses,
came to
though.
the UI guy who came to my house specifically said we're in touch with Public Works.
Oh,
every
they're in
week."
touch with them, but
To
they
tell
don't,
them
they
when
don't
they're-
give specifics as to which tree they're doing what
They just
to.
give the property. There is a list for Woodbridge. There's like 1,000 trees or something. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah, they actually referenced
They-
you by
yeah.
name when they came to my house.
My husband will be so pleased.
You told me all about the tree work you have done. I was like,
Well,
okay.
because they were cutting trees down, and then I'm like, so now those trees are all compromised, you know, and they're gonna land on my house in the next nice storm that we have. So, and they're like, there's the trees they want, and this is where the other trees are. But now that the buffer is gone, guess what trees, and they're pines, and they're top heavy, and that's what they do anyway.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I don't think I should have to pay my tree guy $1,000 a tree to take those down. You've ruined, these trees are gone, then you can take those too. And I just, as my husband said, he saw me and just kind of hid because I just had my hands on my hips for about 45 minutes, and then the other guy came and it all happened. But it was just, it's yeah, don't get me started on that.
Okay. So,
Um,
anything else about that?
Anyway, I again called today and said I haven't heard a word from anyone, so Mika was getting back to Warren and so forth and so on. I did come up with, where is it? This, which our town actually put out for open space,
Oh,
Cute.
with the cover exactly as what we're trying to save.
uh-huh.
And I also looked into the phone book. I finally found that, I think it's Yukon Stores that has copies of the phone books. Nobody else seems to. And she looked in those dates, the
Wow.
parameters you gave me, and she didn't see them.
No.
So it may be that I have to go up there and, look further. I didn't want to ask her to look any further, but.
You're a true archivist.
So, we will, but I thought this would be
That's
interesting
great.
to
Very.
show people. So, and we just need to get a letter written now. I got the names of the 10 owners on the property involved, which is not many. And I think if we get a letter written, we can actually physically go to them and tell them
Do
what
we
we're
all
trying to
need
do.
to draft that letter, or?
Pardon?
The Conservation Commission drafts that letter, or
The
public?
Conservation Commission.
Okay,
is
so
the-
maybe
yeah.
we put that as a subcommittee to draft that letter?
Or just see if Barbara is familiar with it enough to start or put
I
together.
can start.
Okay, and then bring it to next month's meeting?
And that's where we sit. So I'm waiting for those different answers. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to get them, but hopefully,
Well, they halted them, that's good.
yeah.
So, but, do you think it's appropriate that we try to have a letter by next month? Would
Oh,
that
yeah.
be okay? Okay,
I think so.
all right.
And
So
hopefully
that's an
some of these
agenda
other
item.
answers
Okay, great, that's moving along. And
come in.
do you know how long the stoppage is? Do we have to reinstate it in 3 months and make sure?
I don't know. I didn't ask. Apparently, my understanding was just don't do anything until we figure
Communicate,
something
okay,
out.
great. So, Ben, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Okay, so these are questions for the CCW vendors highlighting environmental and conservation concerns. So the first category is, I called it track record.
Ah,
Track record?
We can also change that, but
I like it.
okay, we would like to know what potential vendors have done before to integrate conservation considerations into their processes. So this is formerly number 2. Can you provide examples of past master plans prioritizing environmental considerations? Can you provide references to past clients? And the next one is formerly 3. How do you plan to assess the environmental impact and navigate regulatory requirements of proposed uses for the former Country Club of Woodbridge, including but not limited to soil and water tests of existing structures and previously developed and utilized lands and water? Can you outline your experience?
Excellent.
Love it.
The second category is technical approach. Here we'd like to know how they will approach technical issues related to conservation considerations. This is formally number 4. Can you describe any innovative approaches or technologies you have utilized in previous master plans to mitigate environmental impacts? Formally 5, how do you incorporate green infrastructure and sustainable design principles into the master plan? Formally 6, how do you intend to address potential challenges related to water conservation, wildlife habitat preservation, protection of natural resources on the property? And formally 7, how might Woodbridge monitor and mitigate any adverse environmental effects from implementing the master plan? And our final category is community engagement. We'd like to know how the vendors plan to engage the community across a range of issues. Formally 1, what strategies do you employ to balance environmental conservation with other community needs such as housing development and recreational infrastructure? Formally 8, how do you plan to ensure transparency and public participation in decision-making processes, especially regarding environmental aspects of the master plan? Formally 10, how do you plan to collaborate with local conservation organizations and government agencies to leverage their expertise and resources in developing the master plan. Formerly 9, how do you plan to engage with environmental experts and stakeholders during the planning process to ensure that their perspectives are adequately represented? And that's
Great.
it.
Yeah.
So, shall we vote on it?
You have to make a motion to
Someone does.
approve
I make
the,
a motion to approve the minutes as, questions as read by Ben to the Board of Selectmen.
Who seconded it? Who seconded?
Val, sorry.
All in favor? All. Okay. Great.
thank you, Ben, for taking the lead on that.
That's great.
Not a problem.
Really, really good.
It's, thanks for all the input, wordsmith in these things. It was helpful.
And last piece of old business is deep representative presentation update.
Oh yeah, that's me as well. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of follow up on some stuff that I had talked about in an earlier meeting. So just to recap, I read the report that the Audubon Society did for the Country Club of Woodbridge, and I was interested in this little fact that they said that the Country Club is this really rare habitat type. So it's only represented by about 5% of Connecticut, and it's home to a lot of species that are of concern for the state of Connecticut. So I actually reached out to somebody in Deep just to kind of get more information about it, and they offered to come and present to us sort of how Deep thinks about this type of habitat and how it's important to different species. So I mean, I think we should take them up on it because I think
Should
it'd
we
be
make
good
it a
to-
public meeting where other people could come and listen to that part of it?
Absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
Why not?
And really advertise it, because that's really striking.
Do you think
And
this is a 10-minute presentation or a half-hour presentation? Did you get a sense from the person?
I'm not sure. I mean, we could probably. How long would we like it to be? I guess that would be the
well,
that'd be the
are
question.
they gonna do a site visit? I'm guessing they're gonna read this report, go see it for themselves, and hopefully part of it is that they're making recommendations to how we manage such a thing, because it is a temporary state that,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna go.
Yeah, it has to be managed.
It has to be managed to keep it in this succession, I think it was succession, right?
To prevent succession growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Well,
it
I
did
think the
occur
first part would just be to understand how important it is and then
Mhm.
get to maybe at another meeting, what it implies to do. I think it would be overwhelming to say it and then say you have to do all this stuff. I think that could be, maybe they'll hint at it, but I'd rather just know why it's important.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because, yeah, we can take that in two parts because we probably wouldn't want to tie the presentation to the site visit happening. So, I just put the request in for the site visit. So, we want to make sure that, I think we want to make sure that they can actually do the presentation sooner than that. So, I'd be interested in just sort of, just from a scientific conservation standpoint, just sort of get all the facts in and, hear what Deep has to say about that sort of habitat in general.
Interesting.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. And let, have their own set of eyes on it as
Mhm.
well. And to, they're basically reconfirming or agreeing that it is in fact that, and maybe they have even more to say about that, because I know that Audubon site visit was an hour long,
Mm-hmm.
so, you've walked the property, you need a little bit more time to be a little bit more in depth. I'm not suggesting that we have them go into this big drawn-out thing about how to manage such a thing, but it would be really interesting, because if it is that special, that there could be a possibility of, and I mentioned this in a prior meeting, of us getting who knows what kind of grant funding on a national level to be able to help us manage that better. Because let's face it, there are defunct country clubs happening all over the country right now because it's a dying sport or activity. People are just not doing it anymore. So you have these
That's true.
spaces everywhere, and maybe something can be done about that. You know, in California, I know is in my research with these other golf courses that are letting them rewild, they've done some things, but where's the money coming from? You know, how do you? There could be some
That is a perfect
ideas.
segue into one of the other presentations that Deep wants to, for us on, the upcoming funding opportunities that are available for conservation commissions and for towns. So they've offered to do another presentation on that.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So, would we do these both in June?
I think so.
So maybe 45 minutes for each of it, and it's a lot of the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, from basically what we're talking about right now, what our next meeting is pretty light.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I think probably they would have some input as to how much time they can or want to spend on
Yeah.
making this presentation.
yeah, and we
too.
can put them up early on the agenda so that, you know, if they're coming from out of town, they don't have to wait until new business. We can just,
And weren't we
Right.
gonna get students to come in too?
that's right. We also have a presentation.
Should you
They
put
were
that on the
doing,
agenda?
yeah, they were doing maybe about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. 10 minutes total on the, two of the science fair finalists from Amity High School, and they did a great project on, you know, like a bee conservation, project. I'll let them explain it. I don't wanna.
Okay, so
I
you'll.
don't
put
wanna
that
give
on-
away all the goods.
You'll put on that, the agenda also. So are we moving on to new business? We've agreed that we all would like those two different deep, presentations. Isn't there a third one also about the planting 2,000 trees?
I think that's part of the, funding one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that one about,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so new business, plan of conservation and development. Aha.
so we know that Commissioner Klee, is not available to join us. We knew that he was not gonna be available, but he did respond to us saying that they have a consultant and they're starting to get ready, and there will be,
Information that Chris Sullivan has a lot of, right?
yeah, Chris Sullivan has it, but I think one of the first things that they do is like an open meeting
Uh-huh.
to talk to everybody about what the plan
And a
will be.
segue to that,
But I think we should invite him also in June to see if he can just give
I
us.
think you already
So-
said he can't come in June.
Oh, he can't come, but
No.
aren't we changing the date in June?
Oh, we are too.
So maybe he's available on this new date.
And,
Hear that, Commissioner Klee?
And, that brings us to the plan of conservation development, that also preamble to that is to go through all the properties that are the town properties and see what ones might be being thought of by CUPOP and by the plan of conservation development, and how much we're prioritizing them. It was work that Tim Austin was doing that we have not quite continued, and Diane and I are proposing a special meeting to deal just with that, and,
When?
June 8th.
So, hang on, before we get to the special meeting date, I think just in general, the June 20th date does not work for several of the commission members. So, we are looking to make our June date sooner.
No, later, for the
No.
special meeting sooner,
Well, we need to have 2 of them,
that's right.
So we need to have 2 meetings in June?
Yeah,
Okay. What dates?
'tis the question.
I think Thursday is more likely to be a good time for everyone than any other
Mhm.
day, any other day of the week. So we were thinking of the 8th for a special meeting.
So, That's the 6th.
Oh, it's the 6th, sorry,
So,
the 6th.
my daughter's graduation is that night, so, or
Oh, I
that
don't think
day,
that works
8th grade, no.
Okay. That's why we are having this meeting. So we were also looking at the 13th or the 27th.
13th and the 27th?
Yeah.
Twenty-seventh, I won't be able to do it.
June
Should we just wait until 4th of July? Everybody want to come in?
June is hard.
The 13th is fine for me.
The 13th at 7:30, would that be the special meeting or
I
the
think-
regular
I
meeting?
think they'll both have to be special meetings because we're changing the date from the date.
Yeah, so I think like the normal June meeting that we'd have, we should try to have that one first, like on the 13th, and then find another date for the special
Well, we
meeting.
will put off that special meeting as much as we.
So
Okay.
June 13th at 7:30 would work. So I'll put it there then.
And that, we're hoping that these two people can come that day. And I think I got something from Andrea that said she wanted to know very soon about those dates. Did you
Okay.
see that? So we should contact her with the dates. She had sent an email to the two of us, I think.
Okay.
regarding
Just to us, not to Ben.
that. Maybe Ben too, I don't.
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay, so somebody will let the folks from Deep know that the intended date is June 13th.
I will forward this to,
And that's the meeting that we're gonna have Deep, the science fair finalists, and maybe an update from TPZ.
that doesn't.
Or maybe somebody can attend TPZ. Just real quick, on June 13th in the town, there's Economic Development Commission at 6, so we'd be in here an hour and a half after them.
That would likely work.
What commission?
Economic
EDC.
Development,
DC.
So that's my husband.
so you
So
guys
we'll be
just
back to
tag
back.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
How can we notify the other chair people and commissions about this June 13th? Deep's coming in on the 13th?
Well, we're gonna ask Deep if that works for them.
Okay.
We're suggesting for our June meeting, we do that. And most of the commission members are not available on the 20th, so we're seeing if we can just move it up a week to June 13th.
But, I mean, the other, like Coopah, are we gonna invite others to attend that as well?
If Deep says they can, yes.
But if they said they can we?
Oh, yeah, no, I think, yeah, we wanna notify everybody if the folks from Deep are coming to speak, sure.
Yes.
I mean, we'll notify everybody anyway, because it'll be publicly listed and
Oh, okay.
posted.
No.
But I do think if we
But a
reach
little-
out to a bunch of people.
We have to do it sooner.
Specifically. it'll be
Sure,
better.
yeah, we can even,
So,
you know, post
Diana-
some of these topics on like
Are,
the social media.
who's gonna follow up with these two? Ben, will you follow up with,
Can you follow up the Deep folks?
Yeah, I can.
and will you follow up with both of them, or Diane, do you have the
You know,
contact?
Andrea's on the email chain that I'm talking to with the Deep Forester, so I'll just ask for both of them.
Okay, that'd be great. And I just forwarded you the note that Andrea gave me, I texted it to you. Okay, so we still need to have a special meeting, which is gonna get harder and harder to do as summer appears. Do we wanna create a tentative date for that?
Yeah, so does everyone know what we want this special meeting to be about?
No. Is
Okay.
this to get ready for the big work, which is the
Yeah.
continuation of what Tim was working on, and
Yeah, so
we should have a timeline for that, like back
Well, when we talked to
wherever the
Clea-
due date is, and like back up, like how many months do we really have to finish that? Because that job is gonna be big.
So there's two different things we're talking about. One, you're talking about what we need to have prepared for the plan of conservation development.
And two, the property assessment.
And two, just like assessing all the properties that are listed there that we need to review and weigh in on. So as they come up on CUPOP's agenda, we have responses and we've already reviewed them, so we know what our position is as a commission to inform their work.
And I think that may still integrate into this, some of the plan of
Yeah,
conservation
yeah,
development
definitely
also,
can
because
as well.
that'll all be kind of part and parcel. So
Um,
that's specifically what we want to do, is a special meeting, is go through those town properties and give our opinions about
Just sit there and go through the town properties?
Yes.
Okay, and so we had some pre-work that people could do ahead of time. If we have that list, we can share it with the commission members again, and we can try to assign like we had before. Or I think it's.
Maybe on June 13th, we can assign, we should put an agenda item to assign each
Okay.
person to look at 3 properties or something.
I'm just give an example of one.
Does that make sense to everybody? Do we
Mhm.
remember we did that
Yep.
before?
And then you're looking at dates for that too?
This is strictly government-owned properties.
Town-owned properties.
Yep, that's what I mean.
Yeah, strictly town, that's the only group that has yet been undone, has not yet been done.
Okay.
We're a new commission though? Do we have to go over what we were already
No,
did with
I
Tim?
don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, we could look at it again, but I think we should go on,
Mhm.
and then if we have time, we can, because those properties aren't under such scrutiny
Right.
as the ones that are being looked at by the town. Is that enough for that? Do we have all the information? But we haven't come up with
We
a
need
second
a-
special meeting time.
A date of special meeting, yeah.
Right.
Well, we might have to go with 6 out of 7 of us, because it's summer. Do you feel like you wanna, do you wanna be part of that? I mean, maybe you could do research and you could give one of us the information about the research that you did? On
Yeah,
the
well,
27th?
why-
I'm thinking you can't be at the meeting on the 27th. And if it's
Oh,
the meeting,
yeah,
all the
that's-
rest of us, because I think as July and August rolls around, it's only gonna get harder to find a time when we're all
I
here.
mean, I can see what's coming up on the 27th. It's another board meeting. I can see what's coming up on, I'm
Okay.
able to split it, do part with
Okay.
them and part with us.
Well, hopefully we can be somewhat efficient. So, but do you feel okay if we choose that date, given that, because I just
If
can't
we need to,
imagine
we
that
need
we're
to.
all gonna have a July or August time that we're all.
Right, no, if we need to, we need to, yeah, there's no doubt.
So should we put that in tentatively, and if we have a better idea of another time on the 13th, we can maybe alter it, but let's go for the 27th. If we're all, can I make a proposal? Are we all in favor of that?
Let me look again.
Of the special meeting on the 27th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Diana?
Sure. Bigger question, which one is our potluck?
Okay, that's a big, there is a proposal for potluck. Who would like to, which date would you rather
I
have
think
it
the
on?
27th makes more sense.
Oh, it's such a painful meeting. I don't think anything.
That's what I'm saying. Food is only gonna
The
make that
special
help.
meeting isn't gonna be a fun meeting.
No.
No, so we need treats for that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Potluck on the 27th.
Barbara's got this amazing cake she made.
Oh,
You gotta
Just
change
get
that.
out
You
there.
have to
come,
Try to sweeten the deal.
What was that? What did I make?
Is it a sherry cake?
Oh, the sherry cake, oh.
It's on the record now. Right, okay.
Okay, so are we,
So what time
Two
is that
special
going to be
meetings.
then?
7:30.
6:30 for the potluck
Also 6:30, June 27th.
on the 27th?
And are we doing
This is
that
on
here?
official. Yeah.
So is this even available on that date?
Hold on. Got one
That's a
of
good
them,
question.
one of them that said it was, the 27th has nothing on the agenda.
Party.
As long, yeah, we have to check with Toadgate.
Okay.
She's coming back on the 30th.
And we have to check with our film crew.
Yes.
For both those.
They're good on the 13th, after economic development,
Yeah, 13th is good.
and then the 27th.
27th is, there's nothing, so.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
All right, potluck at 6:30, and then
You're welcome to come to the potluck.
7:30 we get started on
Yes.
the.
And on the 13th, we'll decide what everyone's bringing. Put that on the agenda.
Put that on the agenda.
Okay, so are we ready to move on? Signage for trails. Tim Austin spoke to me a while ago. Well, it has occurred to me that we have probably some money in our budget, and the financial year ends in July 1st, I think. And it's now been 3 weeks, and I didn't bring my notes, but there's very simple brown signs that have a hiker that's facing in one direction or the other, or straight ahead, I think, that that there's a request for some signage to put on trails so that they're more noticeable. And they're just small, and they're brown, and they're not very, and I forget how much each one costs, but I think $75, but it might be including the post and all that's involved. And I thought it would be helpful to encourage use of these trails and people being exposed to the beautiful environment in Woodbridge if we help support that funding with the money in our budget for, like last year we supported the Trailmaster with equipment. And I feel like I'm not as specific about it as I should be, and we can make a final decision on the 13th, but if people want to think about it, and I'll come up with a little more information on that date to ask for a vote. Unless people feel ready to vote already.
Which trails, or all the trails, or, I mean,
I have it right here, I think.
How many are there?
how many signs are we talking about?
I think he's open to whatever,
Who's he? Tim?
Tim.
And
Tim.
so we would be purchasing or trail signs for the
Trailheads
Trail-
for some of the,
Master.
Trailheads,
or beginning, where the trail starts.
trailheads.
Yeah, if you have a document that you wanna send us the trail,
Yeah, it was
what the locations
The
are.
information and the locations.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the
I'd forgotten this
numbers
was
and-
on the agenda, so I apologize.
Cause you're right, some of them have better signs than others.
Hiking sign information. So this is the sign, I'll pass this around, and also these are the places. The ones that have installed and ones under consideration.
This is the tiniest little phone I've ever seen.
Requires good eyesight.
It really does. Do you have that?
She must.
That's why I'm so bad at emails.
It is amazing.
She's conserving raw
My
materials.
goodness. Oh my gosh.
Okay, but I think I will get information to everybody and we'll make a decision on.
By June 13th.
By June 13th.
Okay,
Because I
so
think our
that's the
fiscal year
signage.
we need to do it by then for our financial year. And Woodbridge Town Properties Review Special Meeting, we just
What is he?
talked about that. So that's the last on our agenda. So we've already covered number 3. Number 7 on our agenda is member comments. Does anyone have any comment? You do.
I have a comment. Just a piece of information. I picked up the maps from Scrog, so we have
Oh.
a whole new huge supply.
Great.
They redid it for us, I guess gratis,
Wow.
because they didn't give me any bill.
That we know of.
We may get one
And I
in
dropped
mail.
off a bunch of maps after the
Yes.
thing to library.
I
Okay.
just incorporated it.
Great.
And then the amusing thing was when I came to put them all away here and take some with me, Tony said, "Oh, there are more maps under the table there." So there were 2 more boxes full of
So you have
maps.
plenty of maps.
So we have lots of maps, but they go like hotcakes out of the library. So
That's great.
I don't think we're gonna be.
We're map rich.
I don't think we're gonna be map rich for long.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are we going back to the trail signs, because you were looking at them?
These are all located in Woodbridge?
Yes.
Okay. There's just a lot in like
Tanzania.
Sperry and Bethany Farms trails.
I'll make sure.
Cool. Anybody else want to say?
Yeah, you're gonna send that out, right?
Yeah, I'll forward
Yeah,
that
let's
to
only
her.
pay for the.
We're just showing
ones.
Sharon's really tiny phone right now.
Yeah, that's really what I'm interested in.
Yep.
A little mini iPhone.
Oh my God, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Let's not shame
It feels so
Sharon's
cute.
phone.
Wonder why you can't read emails.
The next comment is adjournment. Should we get to that?
No, sorry, we're still on new member comments,
Oh.
so sorry. Rudely interrupted Barbara.
Oh, did we interrupt you? I thought you were done. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
I just wanted everybody to know we
That's
got
great
maps.
news about
We
the
got
maps. Happy accident.
We got maps.
Nice. For
Kathy
the
doesn't have to
farm
print
Jason
them
was talking
anymore.
about, what are they planting, what are they planning to plant?
They didn't know.
Sunflowers?
One option was sunflowers. I think it could be.
Oh, native sunflowers.
Yeah.
It could
But
be
it-
anything.
So
could be
I was
anything.
confused a little bit. I watched that meeting and it was so it could be a beautification project?
It's a little
It could
unclear
be,
because it's going to be
yeah.
hard
I
to
was
make
like,
it
this
effective for
farm-
farming, I would think.
You know what I mean?
Because there's
Like,
rules, it has to be for the enjoyment, available
Yeah.
for the enjoyment of
And
all residents.
sometimes when you're a farm, you're not, the accessibility is not allowed anymore because
Right.
you're trying to manage a space for.
Well, he
farm-
said there'd be a trail. I think he mentioned a trail would be there at least.
Yeah, but is there like a proposal, you know, that,
No.
or is it an idea
I think
that's
it's
sort
more
of
of an
being
idea that's
thought
being-
about and fleshed
Yeah.
out? I gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a
Build on the
great
farm as
deal
they're
of
planting
wetlands.
it.
It's a great
There's
deal of work.
very, very little. In most cases, a farmer wouldn't even want it.
It would be a
because it's just
narrow
a very
beltway.
narrow strip of property right next to the road, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all there is to it. And I think it's just an idea that he had that would be fun, that would be, make use of it for.
Is it, so where exactly is it?
It's,
Do you know the greenhouse on Racebrook Road on the west side of Racebrook Road, an old antique house?
Yes,
Okay, it's kind of right across the street from there.
yes.
I think that was the Schultz house.
Oh.
I'm not positive, but I think so. And they owned the farm there and had the barn.
And it's like
right
3
there.
acres, right?
something like that.
Yeah.
If
I
that.
don't really know. I don't really remember.
Okay, so we can look more into that.
I mean, it'd be beautiful if you were driving down Racebrook and there were just,
It's really just
there
a
was,
fun project.
you know,
Make
some
use of a
beautiful
piece of property.
True.
flowers or pollinator.
Are there any other
Valerie, any comments?
member
Any thoughts?
comments?
Okay.
I have 4 quick ones, if that's all right, just because I didn't have this available when we were at the what's happening around town, but I think these are 4 fun things that are happening around town that I want to let folks know about. On June 7th, over at the church, they have the
Yeah.
Strawberry Festival from 5:30 to 7:30, so eat your old strawberry shortcake, get ready. On June 8th, once you're strawberried out, you can go to Massaro Farm for a beekeeping workshop, which I know I'm interested in.
Okay.
The trail that we were talking about updating, the touch-ups, meet-up and touch-ups with the Trail Master is June 9th.
We're going to keep everyone busy.
Yeah, so that weekend, don't make any other plans.
I can add to it too.
Yeah, June 9th, 11 to 12:30, and email trailmaster@woodbridgect.org to find out more. And then finally on the June 15th is the annual Spring Fling Dance and Auction at the Woodbridge Fire Station. So
Really?
June is happening in addition to graduations and everything else that are
And I
happening
can
around town.
add some fun things to that.
There we go.
June
That's right.
8th also is Connecticut Open House, I think it's Historic Open House Day, which of course the Darling House will be open, but all
From
of the
2 to 4,
Connecticut-
right?
Hmm?
From 2 to 4.
2 to 4, yeah.
Mhm.
And then also on The 15th is from 10:30 to 2:30 is Hang a Quilt Day, so people around town hang their quilts out on their porches and let everybody drives around and sees.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
that's nice.
Mm.
Huh,
So-
I like that.
Yep, that's all over Connecticut, I think.
Oh, that's
Nice.
great.
Called Hang a Quilt Day.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I just got here.
Let's just hang out.
Sure, I'll
Where's
make
our
the motion
potluck?
to adjourn.
Ben makes a
Oh,
motion.
did we decide about the potluck, who's bringing?
No, we're gonna cover that at our next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Think about it. Think what you would like to bring. Kathy, you too?
Have to buy something.
No.
So we have a motion on the floor, so I'm just gonna make a
I'll
second.
second, okay. Okay, and we're adjourned at 8:50. Very good.